It's horrible, horrible, absolutely horrible.
A baby's death, a homicide investigation.
Tonight, shock and sadness in a Thornhill neighborhood. A suspect charged with first-degree murder.
Good evening. The infant was found unresponsive at a home last night.
Pronounced dead in hospital. Today, we learned the child had been murdered. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us now live with the latest. Beth.
Zoraida, I'm outside the Newmarket courthouse where the woman charged appeared in a courtroom today. It's a suburban street in mourning. Strangers, parents, neighbors, shocked and asking why.
I would love to know details. There has to be some explanation. I never know.
First responders were called to the Vaughan home yesterday evening around 6 for the report of an injured person and found an infant unresponsive. The baby was transported to hospital but did not survive. One neighbor telling CTV News around that time, a young couple in their 30s live in the home, their child born this past summer.
The baby boy was born in maybe end of June or July. In the early of July, I gave them a small gift for their baby.
Standard with the death of a child under 5, York Regional Police's homicide unit investigated. Officers say based on information and interviews, the first-degree murder charge was laid.
It is a very sad and sensitive situation. In any incident like this, we try to be as careful as we can in the early stages of the investigation.
Court documents show the accused is a 37-year-old woman, Zoya Barilovich. Both the baby's death and the murder charge has left people living close by stunned.
Terrible, horrible. I can't believe that happened. A poor little infant. I can't. I just don't have words. It's awful.
It's horrible. It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's a very quiet, nice community here. So, I mean, that could happen anywhere, but, sad.
Police say the autopsy is being completed and have not released the cause of death. Officers say there are no outstanding suspects. Police are not releasing the relationship between the woman charged and the infant who died. However, court documents show they have the same last name. The woman charged remains in custody. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Now back to Zoraida and Michelle.
Thank you, Beth. In Toronto, homicide investigators have made 2 arrests in connection with a deadly shooting in the East End. Just before midnight on Friday, December 22nd, Toronto police responded to a call near Danforth and Woodbine. They say a group of men got into a fight. 45-year-old Adam Palermo of Keswick was shot and did not survive. 27-year-old David Wilfred of Toronto is now charged with second-degree murder. 23-year-old Angelica Cunha, also of Toronto, is charged with accessory after the fact. Also tonight, another emotional day in a London courtroom for the sentencing hearing of the man who murdered the Afzal family. Today, the lone survivor of the attack, a young boy, shared his grief. We'll have those details just ahead.
We turn next to a terrifying experience for people living in a North York townhouse.
Take a look at this scene. A vehicle came crashing through the building, ending up in a home's living room. 5 people were injured. It happened just after midnight on Parkway Forest Drive near Shepherd Avenue and Highway 404. Mike Walker joins us live from the scene with more. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Zoraida, first responders say people were in the living room when the Tesla crashed into the townhome. They say, fortunately, all of the injuries are considered not life-threatening. We spoke with one witness who was driving along this road when the crash happened. This is video minutes after a Tesla slammed through the patio doors of a townhouse. Amir Rajabi witnessed the crash.
Went very fast and around 100 kilometer speed. And he or she can't control the car and go inside of the building.
He called 911 and rushed over to help. He says the driver and passengers were in shock.
I heard someone crying and shouting, and I went inside and called the police and take out the passenger of the Tesla.
It happened around midnight at a townhouse complex near Shepherd and Highway 404. You can see the entire vehicle came to a crashing stop in the living room.
People who lived in this townhouse. They dragged out some guy from the front doors. He was limping.
Paramedics say 5 people were taken to hospital, 1 with moderate injuries and 4 others with minor injuries. Police say the driver and 2 people inside the home are among those injured.
3 persons were in the car and 2 were in the lower level, and 2 were transported. 1, I believe, went to a trauma center.
Police are investigating what led the driver to lose control of the vehicle. There is a bend in the road at the scene of the crash. People who live in this area say speeding is a problem.
Very worrying for sure. There's a lot of people speeding down this road a lot, and this is the outcome of what can happen if people keep doing that.
I see a lot of speeding up and down the street, and there's a lot of kids. This is a whole community. It's a very active community, so it's very shocking. I just hope they're okay.
Toronto fire say the vehicle severed a gas line, forcing the complex to be evacuated and the gas shut off. Early this afternoon, engineers installed temporary supports to prevent any structural collapse as the vehicle was towed out by police. The damage inside the home is extensive to the living room and kitchen area.
Honestly, I'm shocked that everyone survived, because that is very disturbing and very scary.
Unbelievable. You can't imagine what happened. Thank you God there's no one died here. They are very lucky.
Investigators say the outcome could have been much worse. Now, as you can see, crews are making some temporary repairs to the townhome and boarding it up. Police towed the Tesla away a short time ago as they continue their investigation and determine whether charges will be laid. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. In Midtown Toronto, a pedestrian was critically injured after being struck by a vehicle. It happened early this morning at Yonge Street and Shaftesbury Avenue, not far from Summerhill Station. Police say the man who was hit was rushed to hospital. The Hyundai involved remained at the scene. So far, charges have not been laid as the investigation continues.
Still ahead, passenger train priority, the effort to pull legislative levers to ease persistent delays and allow passengers the right of way over freight.
But first, let's take a live look outside as we head into the first weekend of 2024, and it looks like we're in for a bit of snow. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Long-awaited snow.
Honestly, it took the whole winter season almost for the snow to arrive, right? We had it New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, and now we're getting it for the first full weekend of 2024. We saw a few light flurries very early on this morning. It really didn't accumulate, and then it was just a cloudy day. I miss sunshine. I don't know about you guys, but I really miss seeing the sun. We will see it again in the kind of medium to long range forecast. Right now, though, right around the Golden Horseshoe, kind of hovering just above or just below the freezing mark, but that wind chill really making it feel that bit cooler outside. Right now through the islands over towards Pearson, we're kind of hovering around the freezing mark. Still feels like -6 tonight, -4, feeling like -7, but still above seasonal. Coming up, a full look at your weekend forecast. Michelle.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
More than 2 years after Nathaniel Veltman carried out a deadly vehicle attack on a Muslim family in London, we heard for the first time today from the sole survivor.
Friends and relatives shared their grief and fear following the murders of the Afzal family as sentencing hearings continued in court. CTV's Michelle Molesky with the latest.
The extended members of the Afzal family entered London's courthouse Friday for the final day of victim impact statements, their chance to tell the judge just how much their world has changed since June 6, 2021. The final victim impact statement was that of the lone survivor to this tragedy, a boy who suffered a broken leg and collarbone. He was only 9 at the time. Because of this offense, I will have to learn how to walk again. The youngest Afzal talked about all the things he's going to miss out on now, like the enjoyment of family gatherings, and his own children won't have grandparents. He concluded his honest statement with a reminder to youngsters to not take their parents' discipline or sibling rivalry for granted. When they leave you, you would love to fight with them one last time. 3 generations of this family were killed. Grandmother Talat, her son Salman, his wife Madiha, and their 15-year-old daughter Yumna. Friday, Yumna's best friends took the stand and painted a picture of anger, regret, and sorrow. The thought of my family being targeted, hunted in the streets, mowed down, and killed just because of her Muslim faith was very debilitating, Miriam Al-Sabawi told the court in an impactful 11-minute statement. He took from us what did not belong to him, and there is no way to give it back. All of it taken because of hate that was left unchecked, hate that was given endless opportunities to grow, she said. Nathaniel Veltman, now 23, is a self-described white nationalist who told police he hit the family while they walked down a London street because of the clothes they were wearing, because he could tell they were Muslim. The pain I felt is something I never want to experience again. But that's not guaranteed, is it? Friend Huda Salam said in court, glaring at Veltman. Salam said she happened to drive past the crime scene that night, saw first responders working on the victims. It wasn't until the next morning and Yumna wasn't responding to texts, Salam learned the truth. The hurt, the guilt, the pain of existing should not be this hard for anyone, and I wouldn't wish it on any living soul, she said. Another friend, Ishal Salam, told the court, these murders impacted me emotionally, permanently. And while time has started to heal, the emotional scars are a burden I will have to carry for the rest of my life. Salam concluded her heartfelt statement saying, my life is tainted. Nothing will ever change that. For 2 days and over 68 statements, Veltman sat barely moving, listening to the impact of his actions.
Well, he's stuck, unemotional, I would say. There are no expressions from him. I'm sure he's touched by it as well.
Defense lawyers Christopher Hicks and Peter Ketchison say it's clear the Afzals were a very close and tight-knit family, people Veltman had never met and did not know. Now their lives forever tied together.
There's just so many degrees of hurt and harm that this is radiated out to, and you've got distant cousins, extended cousins expressing serious trauma associated with this event, and especially when they're so young, it's quite moving to hear.
Michelle Molesky, CTV News.
Provincial police are sharing the results of their annual Festive Ride campaign. OPP say they stopped more than 42,000 drivers during 11,000 ride initiatives. In that time, they laid nearly 1,500 impaired driving charges. 220 motorists got suspensions. 17 were suspended under alcohol zero tolerance rules. The OPP Festive Ride campaign ran from November through to the start of this month, alongside similar efforts by local police.
Notable schedule changes are taking effect this weekend for riders on the Up Express and Go Transit. Starting tomorrow, Metrolink says it will shift schedules on the Milton, Barrie and Stouffville lines while running longer trains on the Kitchener line. Go Bus routes will see adjustments in response to increasing demand as more people return to school and work. Meanwhile, late night Up Express trains return Sunday with service extended to 1 a.m.
TTC riders may also notice some service upgrades starting this weekend. On Sunday, the transit agency says it will increase capacity on 7 bus routes during busy travel periods. Dufferin Bus and King streetcar service will return to Dufferin Gate Loop now that nearby road and track work is complete. All regular bus service will resume at Broadview Station while construction keeps streetcar service on pause.
Who or what should have priority on Canada's rail lines?
That question is drawing attention on Parliament Hill, where there is a push to put passengers ahead of cargo. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has the details.
For more information. When it comes to travel by train, delays are often part of the process.
The reality is Canada has fallen far behind other countries when it comes to passenger rail.
This Christmas, Taylor Backrat traveled from Toronto to Vancouver, a trip that took a day longer than it would have 50 years ago. The NDP's transport critic says that's because passenger trains don't have priority over freight trains, a fact his new private members bill aims to change.
If we had passenger priority, the trip would take less time, and Via Rail would be able to maintain a reliable schedule.
Via Rail operates on 12,000 kilometers of tracks, but it owns just 3%, forcing Via Trains to frequently halt and give way to CN, who owns 83% of the lines. The rest of the rails are owned by Canadian Pacific and Metrolinx, which runs Toronto's Go Transit.
Really what we need here in Canada now is a legislative tool that allows us to force Canadian National to actually offer a regular service and provide high-performance service on trackage that they own.
Via Rail has asked Parliament to follow the Americans, who passed a law decades ago, giving their national railway Amtrak priority over freight.
We don't own the infrastructure, so we have very few levers that we can use.
But those in the shipping and freight industries say demand is growing so much that giving power to passenger trains is a risk to the supply chain.
The supply chain has had its issues with delivery times and capacity issues.
And giving the rail via more access to those rails would only exacerbate that, make it worse.
CN says this type of proposal has to be carefully considered to ensure that goods get to market safe and efficiently. The railway says designated lines for passengers are needed, but that could cost billions. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
There has been a deadly crash in New York State involving a bus traveling from Montreal.
Mostly Canadians. We know there are some Swiss citizens who have flights to get back to Switzerland tonight. But most are Canadian.
One person was killed, 11 others injured, one seriously. The vehicle crashed on Interstate 87 in Lake George this afternoon. There were 23 people on the Skyway Coach Line tour bus, including the driver. It was headed to New York City. The Red Cross is now helping passengers find temporary shelter if needed.
In the Gaza Strip, Palestinian officials say 162 people were killed in the past 24 hours. Israel has announced a more targeted approach to its offensive in the territory, but Gazans said Israeli planes and tanks intensified attacks overnight on densely populated areas in the center of the coastal strip, and the humanitarian situation remains dire. A Canadian doctor working in a hospital in Gaza says the scale of suffering is massive.
I don't think people have an idea of how tragic this is unless you actually come and see for it yourself. How much suffering everybody is going through, whether it's the people coming in on a daily basis, almost every hour someone's coming in with an explosive injury or a serious injury. People are losing their legs, their eyes, their lives.
The UN Children's Agency says most young children and pregnant women in the enclave are not able to meet their basic nutrition needs.
In Israel, freed hostages were joined today by relatives of those still being held. There were calls for the release of the remaining captives. The gathering took place at the site of the music festival where some of the 250 hostages were taken on October 7th. About 1,200 people were killed during that attack by Hamas.
The leader of Hezbollah said today his group must retaliate following the death of a senior Hamas official. Hassan Nasrallah insisted all of Lebanon would be vulnerable to Israeli attack if there was no response. But he gave no indication how or when the Lebanese militia would act. Israel has not confirmed or denied whether it was responsible for the killing of Saleh Aruri Tuesday in Beirut. Today, the Israeli military said it attacked Hezbollah infrastructure and sites where the group operates.
There are concerns about how militant attacks on shipping in the Red Sea may soon start impacting consumers. More and more global shipping companies are sailing around southern Africa, a more expensive route. They want to avoid Iranian-backed Houthi militants who have attacked vessels in support of Hamas. Experts say the cost of rerouting could lead to price increases for goods and manufacturing parts destined for Canada. Meanwhile, the Houthis have told the BBC any country involved with the naval task force policing the Red Sea would be targeted. Canada is a member of that coalition.
In Iran, 11 people have been arrested on suspicion of being involved in the death of a slain military commander. Iranian leaders are vowing revenge for Wednesday's attack that killed 89 people. 2 bombs went off at a memorial service for Qasem Soleimani, who was killed in Iraq by U.S. drone back in 2020. In addition to the arrests, Iranian agents seized explosive devices, detonators, and other items. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack.
In South Africa, Oscar Pistorius was released from jail on parole today. The Paralympian sprinter served nearly 9 years of an almost 13-and-a-half-year sentence. He was convicted of murdering his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, in 2013. A parole board decided in November he could be freed after completing more than half of his sentence. Steenkamp's mother, June, said there can never be justice if your loved one is never coming back, and no amount of time served will bring Riva back.
The U.S. president kicked off his re-election campaign today, and with tomorrow's anniversary of the attack on the Capitol, Joe Biden has this to say about the man he will likely face in November.
The entire nation watched in horror. The whole world watched in disbelief. And Trump did nothing. Members of his staff, members of his family, Republican leaders who were under attack at that very moment pled with him. Act. Call off the mob. Imagine had he gone out and said, stop. And still, Trump did nothing.
Biden spoke near Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, where George Washington spent a bleak winter nearly 250 years ago. He accused Trump of instigating the deadly 2021 siege of Congress and said his predecessor was willing to sacrifice American democracy to put himself in power.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court will decide whether Trump can be kept off the 2024 presidential ballot. The justices will consider the meaning and reach of a provision of the 14th Amendment that bars those who engaged in insurrection from holding public office. The former U.S. president appealed after a Colorado court ruled he should not be on the Republican primary ballot. Trump spoke at a rally in Iowa today.
Biden, I mean, if you take a look at what he's doing on the border, or inflation, or our military, that horrible day in Afghanistan, you look at what he's done with energy, all throughout the world, we're an embarrassment as a country.
Trump is leading in the polls among Republican presidential hopefuls and is widely expected to be the party's nominee.
The largest building of classical Greece has reopened following a 16-year renovation. The palace was built more than 2,300 years ago and was where Alexander the Great was proclaimed king. It contained column-rimmed courtyards, places of worship, and spacious banquet halls. The building covered a ground area of 15,000 square meters and was the administrative and spiritual center of the kingdom. The renovation cost about $22 million. Coming up, a slew of odd jobs amount to impressive generosity. A 12-year-old's efforts to raise money for charity inspired by his very favorite leaf.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up, it's Feedback Friday. More viewers tell us they got gift cards over the holidays that turned out to be empty. More people say they've lost money to investment scams. And if you're in charge of the grocery shopping, you may want to keep a closer eye on price stickers. Feedback Friday is just ahead.
And it's a cloudy but mild end to the week right across the GTA. So if you're heading out for a skate tonight, not a bad night to do so, but you'll need a few layers. That wind chill is wicked. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long range forecast. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
We had a lot of reaction to our recent consumer stories on rising food prices, CRA scams, and cryptocurrency fraud.
And many people gave and received gift cards over the holiday season, and some ended up being completely worthless. Here's Pat Foran and Feedback Friday. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle. And Zoraida, gift card fraud is a growing problem. Criminals are stealing security codes off cards and then waiting until they're activated to drain the funds. We heard from many families who say the gift cards they bought turned out to be empty.
Nobody has replied. Nobody. Crickets.
Barbara Chalovich bought her grandson a $500 gift card. When he went to use it, he was shocked that almost all the money on it was gone.
I'm disappointed and upset.
When buying gift cards, you need to check to see if they've been tampered with. Jim told us, I paid $600 for gift cards for my family. They turned out to have zero value. How embarrassing and totally frustrating. A woman got caught in a CRA scam and lost more than $5,000. She was told to pay in Apple gift cards.
I was scared, so I did everything to clear my name. I was trying to protect my family.
Gift cards are often used by criminals to commit fraud. Joy told us, I got an email from a friend asking for Apple gift cards for an investment. It was a scam. I lost more than $11,000. Siobhan Taylor was scrolling through social media when she saw a story about an investment opportunity. It said starting with $250, she could make $28,000 a month. She was eventually scammed out of more than $7,000.
My money is not in that platform anymore.
Many investment scams are now using deep fake videos with artificial intelligence. Wade told us, my father in his 80s lost his life savings to cryptocurrency fraud. It was more than $1 million. We've complained to our bank, but have gotten nowhere. Everyone is doing their best to save on their grocery bill. A CTV viewer saw a small box of carrots and snap peas. The price was $6, but it had been reduced to $5. But she got a surprise when she checked her bill. Vicky told us the price on the big sticker was $5, but I was still charged $6 associated with the scanner code. I'll be checking prices much closer. And it pays to check your grocery bill carefully. A study by Dalhousie University found common mistakes include the price on the item is not the same price on the shelf, discounts were not applied, and the cashier scanned an item more than once. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, look at that. The first week of a brand new year is moving right along, and we had one day of sun.
Yeah, I know. We were hoping to start off this year with a little bit more sunshine, but it looks like we're back into this run of gray.
We are. So we had that day yesterday. It was beautiful. If you could get out and enjoy it, it was wonderful, but it was very short-lived. As we head in towards the weekend, there could be a sliver, and I mean a sliver of sunshine early on tomorrow, but we are watching for snow to move in and settle in as we head in towards the weekend. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. I have been saying it all day. I miss the sunshine. I really, really do. But we are going to get it in the short, kind of medium, long range forecast. So something to look forward to. But it's the temperatures today. Thanks to a west-southwesterly wind or westerly wind into the afternoon, it was fairly mild, all things considered. A noticeable difference from those double-digit wind chills we had yesterday, but it's still feeling pretty cool out there. The good news is we remained above seasonal. It's just a little bit chillier. We're sitting at -1 right now here in the city. It feels like -6. Anywhere north of North Bay, they're in those minus double-digit territories, and of course, it is wickedly cold. For us here in the GTA, Southern Ontario, for the most part, relatively mild, all things considered. We'll be at -4. It'll feel like -7, but the norm this time of year is -9. Eastern Ontario, parts of kind of up towards Parry Sound, they're experiencing a little bit more in the way of those double-digit negative temperature wind chills. Getting into the day tomorrow, +2. So as the snow falls, we're not looking at that real kind of settled accumulation because it's still relatively mild. Right across the board, though, we're still kind of hovering just above that seasonal mark. We had a little light snow in Eastern Ontario today. That moves out, and we're looking at two things happening. There are a series of lows that were kind of in the prairies that dip their way down and come towards us, and this system that's quite vast. It's going to make its way up the Atlantic coast, predominantly impacting Atlantic Canada, but kind of the top end of that storm is going to bring a little snow for us. So those things all meet together and bring some messy weather. Getting into our Friday evening, if you're getting out tonight, it's not all that bad. A light jacket, a good idea. As we get into our Saturday morning, there's the first kind of wave of some kind of lake effect snow. As we get in towards the afternoon, that's when the heavier snow settles. That's when that system from south of the border comes up, and the other one, they meet in the middle, bringing heavier snow late in the day through the overnight. Sunday morning, we get a bit of a break, and then we're watching for scattered flurries off and on as we get ready to wrap up our weekend. The good news, and I promise there's good news with the snow. If you got snow gear for Christmas, you can probably use some of it. But temperature-wise, we stay above seasonal comfortably for the daytime highs and overnight lows. Monday, guys, there's sunshine. We have sunshine on Monday. It's short-lived, so if you can get it and enjoy it, I recommend you do. Before another system right now kind of brewing in the Gulf of Mexico brings messy weather Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but it'll be wet snow, and then sun on Friday. I'll send things back over to you guys.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks.
A third child has died in British Columbia from complications linked to the flu. Just ahead, insight from health experts and a parent who knows the pain of losing a child to influenza.
Health officials are reminding families of the importance of getting vaccinated against the flu.
The renewed calls come after the third death of a child in BC. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
Dr. Amir Barmal says influenza was a contributing factor in the deaths of 3 children.
What we do know about these 3 deaths is that they all were among children who were less than 10 years of age, and they occurred in kids who were in different parts of the province.
He says BC typically sees 2 to 3 deaths annually in children from the flu, but secondary bacterial infections, as these children had, can compound the problem.
I think it's important to also note that, a common complication from influenza can be these types of secondary bacterial infections. And so that's also, a contributing factor to why children might have very severe outcomes like hospitalization or death.
I'm heartbroken for those families. And, we hear these stories come in every year.
Jill Promoli knows that heartbreak. Her son Jude, a twin, died in 2016 of the flu.
This year, we're coming up on Thomas and Jude's 10th birthday, and Thomas will turn 10 and Jude won't.
Promoli, who is also a school trustee, launched a campaign called For Jude for Everyone, reminding families that they can do something to help prevent influenza. Vaccinations.
So I would always encourage people to have a conversation with their doctor. And I do think it's important to stress that the flu shot is for everyone between 6 months And
we have seen a lot of respiratory tract infections in kids in the last couple of weeks and months, more than typical. Tons of COVID, influenza, respiratory syncytial virus, RSV.
Toronto pediatrician Dr. Dina Kulik says vaccinations are safe and effective, but if your child does get ill,
if your child is less than 2 months of age and has a fever, or if your child has difficulty breathing, they're not able to drink at all.
These are symptoms that should prompt a visit to emergency. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
And this comes as Health Canada approves a second vaccine to protect two groups at higher risk of RSV infection. The vaccine manufactured by Pfizer was approved for use in adults over 60 and pregnant people. The shot will protect babies, infants, and seniors who are at higher risk of developing serious infections in their respiratory tracts caused by the virus. Last August, Health Canada approved an RSV vaccine for older adults manufactured by British pharmaceutical company GSK.
Florida will begin importing prescription drugs from Canada to lower the cost of medication. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration will allow the state to access cheaper medicine after decades of frustration over American drug prices. The proposal includes medications for asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, HIV and AIDS, plus mental illness. While some Americans already buy some drugs from Canada and Mexico, it's technically illegal to import them to the U.S. Well, it's called the Gift of Life, and today Muslim youth from across the GTA have come together to give.
They are rolling up their sleeves for a blood donor drive. CTV's Sean Leithong joins us now live from the Mubarak Mosque in Brampton with the details. Sean.
Well, Zarada, Michelle, you can see the clinic happening behind me. It's been going since 3 o'clock today, and many of the people we're speaking to today saying that this can save a life, and if they save a life, they can save all of humanity. A donation that can save a life, and even though blood is being taken, many here say they're feeling fulfilled.
Because, not everyone is blessed with the health that we have, so being a unhealthy young individual, I'm happy that I'm able to give back to the community.
At Mubarak Mosque in Brampton, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association has organized this blood drive with the goal of having nearly 70 donors. Some, like Tamar Hassan,
No, it's my first time.
And for others, they're getting back into the habit of helping.
About 4 or 5 years before I donated, and before that I was donating about 6 months, every 6 months.
Muhammad Khalil says donating blood is a way of paying it forward.
I needed blood when I had surgery, so I think when I need it, somebody gave me, so I should have to donate.
The clinic being run by Canadian Blood Services is continuing till 7 o'clock tonight, one of several across Canada over the past few weeks.
There is a dire need of blood all across Canada, and you have seen at the many billboards they've been asking for the blood, and because this is the time where if you donate 1 unit, it means you're saving 3 lives.
Tahir Ahmed is a first-time donor who says the feeling of helping is better than the actual process of getting a needle.
It's not that bad right now. I feel like later when I get tired and stuff, then I might, but right now it feels good that I'm actually helping someone out.
While Tamur Hassan hopes that he'll be okay after it's done.
Yeah, I'm nervous because I also drove today, so I'll take a breather after this, a few minutes to see how I'm feeling. And then if I'm good, then I'll carry on and then drive home.
So he was okay. Their goal tonight was 70. So far, they're well above 50 people who have donated. But because I mentioned this is part of several across the country, they say they will have as many as 500 donations expected. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Michelle and Zarada, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. David Soul, an actor and singer best known as Hutch on Starsky and Hutch, has died.
I don't want to know. What are we going to do, Star? Send him a cable? Hey, maybe that's what we ought to do. Send him a cable. Only we'll deliver it in person, huh?
Soul played one half of the detective duo on the hit 70s series, one of his several screen and stage credits. He also had success as a singer, scoring a #1 hit with his song Don't Give Up on Us. Soul's wife says he died yesterday in the company of family at the age of 80.
The red carpet has been rolled out for the 81st Golden Globe Awards this weekend. Barbie leads the nominations in the movie categories with 9, while Succession is the top nominated TV program, also with 9 nods. This year's host is comedian Joe Coy, who's headlined several Netflix specials and starred in last year's comedy film Easter Sunday. The 3-hour show begins at 8 p.m. on Sunday. The BAFTA Awards, meantime, are narrowing down their list of potential nominees.
There are many. So many hungry wolves
Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon has made the long lists in 15 categories, but that achievement has been tied by both Barbie and Oppenheimer. All three films are up for the Best Film and Best Director, among other overlaps. The BAFTA Film Awards are handed out February 18th.
We now know which artist will receive a special honor at this year's Grammy Awards.
He's leaving, on that midnight train to Georgia.
R&B legend Gladys Knight will receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. She is joined by disco icon Donna Summer, rap group NWA, and several others. They will receive their awards on February 3rd, one day before the Grammy ceremony on Sunday, February 4th in Los Angeles.
Meantime, the Spice Girls are being commemorated with their own stamps. Britain's Royal Mail unveiled the collection featuring photos of the 90s Britpop group. The collection celebrates the 30th anniversary of the Spice Girls formation back in 1994 and contains images of each member of the band alongside various photos from their performances around the world. Other bands to get their own stamps include the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Queen, the Rolling Stones, and Iron Maiden.
The Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy, court-approved liquidation sale.
After the break, it's not a typo. Canada did not add as many jobs as expected in December. Very few, in fact. What's behind these latest job numbers? We'll have the answer just ahead.
On the next CP24 Breakfast,
nutrition consultant Shauna Thomas will bring us some recipes that'll satisfy even those who are looking to watch their weight in 2024.
CP24 Breakfast up first at 5:30.
It's a very sad and sensitive situation.
Updating our top stories, York Regional Police have laid a first-degree murder charge in the death of an infant in Thornhill last night. Emergency crews had been called to a home near Dufferin and Center Streets and found an unresponsive child who was later pronounced dead. Court documents identified 37-year-old Zoya Barelovich as the person charged as the investigation unfolds.
Unbelievable. You can't imagine what happened. Thank you God there's no one died here.
A Tesla has been removed from a townhouse complex in North York after crashing into the building just after midnight. This is in the area of Shepherd and the 404. 5 people were hurt and a gas main was ruptured, forcing the complex to evacuate. Police now working to figure out what may have led to the crash.
Well, he's stoic, unemotional.
And convicted killer Nathaniel Veltman heard several more victim impact statements today in a London courtroom. Loved ones and friends of the Afzal family spoke of the pain and fear they felt in the wake of their killings in a 2021 truck attack. The lone survivor, a now 11-year-old boy, said he was sad he can't make new memories with his family.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar was down a fraction to 77.82 cents U.S. American benchmark oil settled at 73.81, up $1.62. And the TSX Composite Index ended the week at 20,937, just over 66 points.
The country's labor market barely moved last month. Statistics Canada put December's tally at a measly 100 positions added as unemployment stayed steady at 5.8%. Professional, scientific, and technical services led the hiring action, along with healthcare and social assistance. The trade, agriculture, and manufacturing sectors saw the most losses. The jobs numbers are expected to help inform the Bank of Canada's next move on interest rates, which comes January 24th.
20,000 Ford F-150 trucks are being recalled in Canada because of a problem with the rear axle bolts. The recall affects trucks from 2021 to 23 with the trailer tow max duty package. The back axle bolts on those trucks are vulnerable to braking, leading to rollaway risks when they are parked. The company is working on a fix, and affected customers can expect a notice later this month.
Any Mean Girls fans out there looking to spend a few $1 million? Well, now's your chance to snag a familiar piece of property at a discount.
Wow, your house is really nice.
I know, right?
The bridal path home that appeared as Regina George's place remains on the market after 2 price cuts in recent years. 11 High Point Road was listed at $27 million back in 2022 before a drop to just under $24 million last year. Now it's up for grabs for anyone who wants it at just shy of $20 million.
And that's not to say there were zero luxury home sales in Toronto last year. Far from it. This property at 299 Russell Hill Road sold for more than $16 million. That transaction contributed to a 10% increase in home sales above $10 million in 2023. Real estate experts say the surge was driven by buyers hoping to avoid a new municipal tax. Our online team has details on some of this year's priciest home sales. You can find the coverage on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
In sports, disappointment for fans of the home team at the World Junior Hockey Championship today.
And here comes Snuggerud with the empty net. Snuggerud plays it back across. And McGroarty scores.
That goal put an exclamation point on the United States' 6-2 victory over Sweden. The Americans won their 6th gold medal, the first since 2021. The Swedes last won in 2012. Czechia beat Finland earlier in the day to take home the bronze.
Shelton with her stick on that, and she gets it! Ella Shelton scores!
Meanwhile, 2.9 million people watched the inaugural game of the Professional Women's Hockey League. Toronto hosted New York at the Mattamy Athletic Center on New Year's Day. The game was the #1 sports or entertainment program of the day across all 3 networks that broadcast it.
Austin Matthews will represent the host team at this year's NHL All-Star Game in Toronto. The center is among the first 32 players selected by the league to participate in the game at Scotiabank Arena on February 3rd. Matthews leads the NHL with 30 goals and will be marking his 5th appearance at the annual showcase. The final 12 All-Stars will be chosen by fans through an online vote.
Schroeder, up fake, ball fake. Big play right there. And you know what?
Meanwhile, the new-look Toronto Raptors are hoping to extend their win streak tonight. Toronto is coming off a win against Memphis and will be going for its 3rd straight this evening. The Raps are in Sacramento to take on the Kings. Toronto has not lost since acquiring R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley from the New York Knicks last weekend.
Just ahead, what were you doing when you were 12? This young man has been busy doing every odd job under the sun, raising more than just pocket change for charity.
Tonight, the increase in influenza.
Young children under the age of 2 in particular are at higher risk.
The viral surge turning deadly for 3 children in BC. That story and more later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Hey Toronto, I'm Nicole Cervinas.
And I'm Teddy Wilson, and welcome to Things to Know TO.
Each week, we shine a spotlight on a wide variety of local businesses, services, events, and initiatives from across the GTA.
And if you or your company would like to be featured, you can contact our team by email at thingstoknowto@bellmedia.ca.
And don't forget, join us on Saturday mornings on CP24, CTV, and CTV2.
And hey, why not follow us on social at Things to Know TO.
When it comes to odd jobs, Christopher French has pretty much done it all.
The 12-year-old is not only ambitious, but generous too. As CTV's Allison Hurst reports, he has raised an astonishing amount of money, not for himself, but for others.
As Christopher French walks along legendary Maple Leafs, he thinks his favorite player should be added next.
I've been playing hockey since I was about 4 years old. And when I was 7, I remember I got to pick a number, and that's the year John Tavares got traded to the Maple Leafs.
The 12-year-old not only idolizes the Leafs captain, but has also raised about $15,000 for the John Tavares Foundation by doing odd jobs in his community.
I've worked at food banks, like for sorting food, like carrots, which I don't want to see again. I've planted trees at Tree Canada. I've washed windows, I've swept floors at the barber shop.
All while asking the money he would have been paid instead to go to the foundation to help vulnerable youth.
As a parent, I like that he's already thinking about others, right? This is bigger than him.
He worked from July until late August or early September, but his dad says the money is still coming in.
It was $25, $50, $100 for odd jobs. And then, in the Port Credit Lakeview community, the sort of corporation got involved too. Certainly not, it's $15,000 through $25 jobs. I mean, but I think he would be up to that.
It's been truly inspiring to watch his journey thus far. His tenacity and really wanting to make a difference and give back is incredibly special.
Foundation COO Brent Butler says the money goes to help vulnerable youth.
We have 4 pillars that we focus on: connectivity, human connectivity, healthy eating, healthy activity, and mindfulness.
French's tenacity caught the eye of his idol, getting a chance to meet him face to face.
He's like, buddy, come on, keep going, and you'll one day be like me in the NHL.
French plans to continue the initiative next summer.
I just like that feeling of helping people, and then I'm hoping that it put a smile on their face.
His goal is to raise $25,000. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
How inspiring. Well done, Christopher. Might we be inspired to stay home Saturday night? How bad is the weather?
So for us downtown, we're looking at maybe 2 to 5 centimeters throughout the course of the weekend. So it's not a crazy amount of snow, but if you want to go shovel, maybe help out your neighbors, a good weekend to do so. Temperature-wise, though, we stay above seasonal. So although we are looking at some active weather rolling in, we're not going to see the temperatures drop too much. We'll see around 2 for our Saturday to kick off that first weekend of 2024, -1 overnight. The bulk of the snowfall really is late afternoon, overnight, and into Sunday morning. We'll see this start to trickle off as we head into the end of the day. Sunday, Monday, you'll need your sunglasses. Thank goodness there is sunshine. Short-lived, though, because there's a large low-pressure system cooking up in the Gulf of Mexico, set to bring some wet snow, likely for us here in the GTA Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday before the sunshine finally returns Friday. And a reminder, tonight's Lotto Max jackpot is an estimated $40 million.
Good luck, everyone. Thank you, Jazz. Well, that's it for us, but be sure to join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by our next local newscast at 11:30.
Yeah, in the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you so much for watching and have a great night.
We'll see you at 11:30.